Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Sunstone, and today is a big day because I have a big video in store for all of you. I'm actually going to be answering 35 of your Coral Island questions in under 30 minutes. And some of these are big questions, okay? You guys did not hold back. So definitely think about grabbing a snack, grabbing a drink, and get ready because we have a lot to cover. So let's jump right in. Question number 1, Sakura asked, how will our potential future children be integrated into the island, and will they interact with the townies, especially if those townies are related to our spouse? And MJ Simmer X also asked about family interactions. So the team has stated that they want to make the post-marriage and family interactions more dynamic than what we've come to expect from the traditional farm sim. They don't want our spouse or children to simply be farm hands or to run on autopilot. The children will develop their own personalities that we can choose to influence or have them discover for themselves. And they will also have their own daily schedules, just like all the other NPCs, which I imagine would involve interacting with other townsfolk. I'm pretty confident that Coral Island is going to feel quite alive, and we can definitely expect the NPCs to interact with one another. I think our kids will be no exception. Question number 2 is from Cass, who asked whether we can customize our children's features and clothing. As for clothing, I have no idea. I think that would be really nice to see. However, in terms of the children's features, nothing's been confirmed with regards to having children with another NPC, other than the team noted that there are several different designs available for the children, so there definitely isn't going to be just one single option by any means. However, in terms of having children in multiplayer, Soma from Stairway Games actually stated that he really liked the idea of a character customizer for the children, and how he thought it would be really fun if the two of you could pick the features for your child together. I would definitely like to see this. We still don't know a lot about the kids of Coral Island, but for a roundup of everything that we do know so far, definitely check out this video, which will be linked in the description. Cass also asked whether the dates we go on with Islanders will be short, and whether we will also be able to go on dates after marriage. So I think the story of the Islanders and our relationships with them is an incredibly important part of this game, since many of us are drawn to Coral Island just because of the characters alone. So because of this, I am confident that the writers are going to create fairly detailed and elaborate cutscenes in general, which would also include dates and romantic events. Further, the team noted that they plan to have many post-marriage events, so that includes different dialogues, some arguments, maybe even some jealousy, and also dates. And apparently, the events we experience will depend on how we treat our significant other. So it definitely seems like they have a fairly dynamic system planned. Daromaniac asked, what can you do with the other townies? Can you invite them to your farm, play games with them, go to dinner, visit the beach, watch a movie, etc.? And how much will they interact with each other? So like I previously said, I do think the Islanders themselves will definitely interact with one another a fair amount. And in terms of what we can do with the townies, we do know that they have quite a wide range of interests and hobbies among the cast. So I think we can definitely expect to take part in some of these activities alongside them, most likely in the form of a cutscene. So for example, beach volleyball with the wildlife enthusiast family, painting with Dippa, or practicing yoga with Leah. However, I think one of the primary ways we will interact with the townies will be through questing. So perhaps we'll have to seek out a lost item, help a neighbor with a project on their land, grow a missing ingredient for a friend's special recipe, and so on. I also really expect these quests to be quite unique to each specific NPC. I'm sure there'll be some more generic type quests available too, but I do think that there's going to be a good variety of missions that will help us learn more about that character and their personality. So I'll have some story to it as well. We also might expect to play mini games with the townies based on the cutscene we recently saw at the Cherry Blossom Festival of the Balap Karung minigame. So other examples might be playing mini golf at Pufferfish with Suki or chess at the Beach Shack with Yuri. Ashley wants to know if there will be marriage rivals in Coral Island or if you can take the game at your own pace, adding that it would be fun to see who the Dateables would couple up with. And while I agree that would be really neat to see, there actually won't be any rival marriages because the team doesn't want to lock anyone out of content or punish the player for playing the game at their own pace. However, if this is something that you would like to see, I'm sure that mods will be created where this is an option. Taya asked, will the villagers' lives continue as time goes on? Will more couples have children? Will townies fall in love, have fights, so on? So yes, I do believe that the stories of the islanders will progress over time. For example, we already know that Sam and Emily are trying to have a baby. Of course, we don't know whether or not that will come to fruition, but at least it will show some sort of story progression in their lives as a couple, which we'll likely hear about if we choose to level up our relationship with either of them. For some reason, I'm also still suspicious about Frank and Erica's relationship and whether it will really last, but I know that all of the islanders will have their own stories that will progress over the time that we are on Coral Island. I think maybe the degree to which we learn about them will be dependent on how closely we build our friendships or romantic relationships with the characters, however. Something else that points to progression is the fact that we have the option to have babies as the player. So it wouldn't actually make sense to me if our kids were the only ones of their age on the island once the other kids grow up to teenagers. So I could see the other islanders having babies too around the same time that we do on Coral Island. And of course, just the fact that the kids that are already on Coral Island will grow up to teenagers shows some serious progression in the story. But yeah, overall, I definitely think the social climate of the island will evolve across our gameplay and that we will witness character development throughout the cast of NPCs. Question number 7, Cisco asks, how many hours do you think the main storyline of Coral Island will be? So the beauty of this game is that you can take things at your own pace. So this number could vary greatly depending on where you place your focus, how slow or how fast you take on new projects and quests, so on and so forth. If I had to estimate, I would say anywhere from 50 to 100 hours by the full release. I'm not sure if that would even take into consideration the island hopping and Merfolk Kingdom quest lines. However, I also believe that you could easily sink hundreds, if not thousands of hours into this game, especially if you want to complete everything and have multiple playthroughs to play the game in a variety of different ways. Next, Samur asks, will you be able to skill everything in the talent system, or do you have to decide carefully where to spend points? So I believe that you will be able to continue to gain experience with all of the activities you're doing on a daily basis. So for example, mining, farming, diving, when you carry out specific actions, you will gain experience. And I don't think this will ever necessarily stop. I believe you'll keep leveling up as you do these activities, which would also then mean you would continue to gain skill points and be able to continue to level up the various skills on the skill tree. Stairway Games is very much focused on not locking players out of any content, so I feel like skills would also be included in this. I think strategy would mostly come into play in terms of deciding what to prioritize unlocking first and what will benefit you most in the early game. But I think if you play enough, you will have the ability to level everything up and unlock all the skills that you want to. Samore also asked whether you can get cosmetic items through quests, completing milestones, or getting gifts from NPCs, or if these will only be acquired through shopping. So I think ultimately you will be able to acquire certain cosmetics through completing projects and quests. However, I'm not sure that this will be ready for early access. It may not be available until the full release. I think the unlockables we can expect in early access will mostly be crafting and cooking recipes, because I think a lot of additional cosmetic items will come further down the line once the base game mechanics are implemented and running smoothly. But we do know that the team is working on an NPC gifting system at the moment, so we don't know exactly what those gifts are going to be or how it's going to work, but we'll definitely discover it soon. Question number 10, Mohammed asks, will this game be released on mobile devices in the future? So it's not in the current plans. The team is definitely focused on PC and console versions right now. So once those are complete, then they could potentially consider additional platforms like Mac and mobile, but I personally wouldn't count on it, but they also haven't ruled it out. So anything is possible. They also asked whether there will be more dateable characters in the future, and I think this is very possible. So far we've met 20 dateable characters, and there are an additional 2 dateable Merfolk characters. Because the scope scope of the game has expanded quite significantly since the Kickstarter, and since so many new NPCs are being added, many of whom I know already have a huge fan base, I could definitely see the team adding 1 or 2 more dateable characters to the final roster by the full release. I don't think we'll see any dating mechanics for new characters for early access, however I could be wrong. Also, when they initially announced that new characters would be added to the game, they did state that the number of dateables out of the new islanders was to be determined, so they never said no. K. Ramel asked, how long do you think Coral Island will be in early access? So I believe Coral Island could be in early access anywhere from 6 months to a year. However, I personally think it will be closer to that year mark, so we may be able to expect full release and console versions sometime around the fall or winter of next year. That would be my best guess. Of course, that depends if things get delayed or how the early access process goes, how much player feedback they decide to implement. There's just so many things that will factor into the timeline, but I love that they've chosen to go the early access route so that they can build the game with player feedback at the forefront and be able to create a game that everyone loves. Question number 13, Muhammad also asked, in your opinion, what makes this game unique compared to other farming games? Diving, diversity, environmental awareness, Indonesian culture and lore, the art style, the music. It totally stands on its own. Mien asked, what will the overall diving experience be like, including underwater wildlife? So this is a huge question, and the short answer is that, first of all, we have very little idea of what the underwater experience will be like, since the team is essentially revamping everything. But what we do know is that we're going to experience an underwater open world with depths from 10 to 40 meters, accompanied by a pressure meter to indicate how deep we are at any given time. We will also need to upgrade our diving suit to reach the deeper depths. There are sea creature NPCs who we will need to bribe to access different areas of the map. So far we've met Grantle, who's part of a squad of turtles who roam the 10-meter depths. We can also expect the underwater wildlife to respond to the cleanliness of the ocean, so likely more species will appear and the environment will become more vibrant as we clear the ocean of pollution. There's also the Coral Island current, which may just be there for looks to indicate how much trash there is in the ocean, and then as we clean it up, the Coral Island current may also clean up. It may also end up being a fast travel system. And then of course there is the Merfolk kingdom ultimately that we will one day find and enter if all goes well. But beyond that, we don't really know. I do have an old video on diving which you can check out, but it's really hard to say what we knew of that will remain once the team revamps everything. There was like a whole beacon system, and collecting kelp would help us level up our crops, and like breeding super coral and maybe developing technology with Ling. Like there was all sorts of speculation, but we don't know how much of that is going to be retained in the new build. So at this point, it's just so hard to say, but we do know that we will still have Kibble as our little diving companion. So that's exciting. Question number 15 is, how will the Merfolk relationships work? And essentially you'll have to gain their trust. You'll have to learn their language. And once you accomplish these things and are able to enter the kingdom, you'll have to level up the relationship hearts just like you would with any other character, probably through gifting, chatting with them, completing quests for them. And of course, you'll also experience cutscenes and likely romantic events and all that. As for the actual wedding and having kids, that's all to be seen. One theory that I do have is that there will be like a magical piece of jewelry, like maybe a necklace, that will allow us to transform into merfolk, and then that would kind of help us have a more stable relationship with a merfolk. So that's one theory. We have seen artwork of Alice and Raphael wearing necklaces and having little tails, or maybe it could work the opposite, where your merfolk partner can grow legs and walk on land temporarily. I don't know how they're gonna do that, but I'm excited to see what they come up with. Question number 16 is from Ocean Eyes, who asks, how big will the Merfolk kingdom be and how much will there be to see and do there? Will there be shops, unique forage items? Will there be unique reasons to visit? So this is the concept art for the Merfolk kingdom. We may expect something making minimum this size or bigger, especially if they are expanding the underwater area and creating a big open world. There will definitely be quest lines available to us in the kingdom, like a main story and then probably additional side quests for certain characters. There will also be at least one festival that the kingdom will feature that we can partake in, and of course there will be unique characters. I definitely think they would have a few shops where we could buy unique items, and we probably would receive special rewards from completing underwater quest lines that wouldn't be available on land. So there's definitely going to be a lot of reasons to visit the Merfolk Kingdom, and I am so excited. Question number 17 is from Dark Serpent Cat, who asks if we can please get more information on the lore or hidden NPCs. So in terms of the lore, I have this video here that I think would be a very good fit. We have kind of learned a little bit more, like we know the giants will ultimately help us on the farm. I think it's actually nice that they haven't shared much about this, because I think learning the lore of Coral Island will be a big part of playing the game. We'll probably collect artifacts and discover, you know, buried history in the mines underwater, like all sorts of stuff like that. So I think it's great to just discover it while you're playing the game. The only thing I think I could share about the hidden NPCs is that if you look at all of the different businesses that we've either pulled from the developer diaries or been shown in an official update, and you see how many of those businesses don't have anyone officially running them or working there, we can sort of guess that some of these NPCs may own or be employed at some of the businesses. So a few examples would be the clothing store, the coffee cart, and the animal shelter. Lawrence asks if I could make any townie dateable, who would it be? And I would have to say either Jack or this particular individual. Harley wants to know if I think we'll be getting any merch. I think yes, although it may not be directly from Stairway. They have made t-shirts for their team members with Sus Chicken and the Wabanana logo, so I could see them selling something like this to the general public. However, they might also want to stick to digital options like the soundtrack or a digital art book to reduce their ecological footprint, but I could see their publisher Humble Games helping them put out a physical edition of the game, and I could see other companies like Fangamer along with the small artists creating fan merch as well, which I would absolutely love. Harley also wanted to know what is my favorite way to keep track of Coral Island information. So I do a combo. I have sticky notes, I have a dedicated journal for the developer diaries, and then I also implement like spreadsheets and Google Docs. And of course I have like every possible source for Coral Island bookmarked on my computer, so I check it like every day. All notifications on, which by the way, only like 13% of you have your notifications on, which is a useful feature because sometimes YouTube is in a mood and decides not to share my videos. So if you had your notifications on, you'd never miss one. Just saying. Question number 21 is, do you think that environmental elements will be as important in the game as we hope they will be? And I think yes. I truly believe that environmental issues and awareness will be woven throughout a majority of the game. We have oil spills, we have trash on the beaches and on the sea floor, we have dead fish washing up on the sand, dried up hot springs, a recycling center community project, and so much more. Vovi wants to know if we can customize our character's eye color, and ultimately yes, we will be able to, but for early access, I'm honestly not sure. I do hope so, but based off of the alpha prototype they showcased, that one does not have any eye color customization, so I don't think current alpha players can change their eye color. However, I think it'd be odd if they didn't add that for early access, so I'm assuming we will be able to. Jessica wants to know if I think there will be any DLC or future major updates for the game. Definitely plenty of updates are in our future, of course throughout early access to the full game and beyond with island hopping and such, but these will all be free updates, so like paid DLC, I'm honestly not sure, but I do know that the team hopes to push free updates and support the game for about 3 years. Mien wants to know what the fishing and bug catching experiences will be like. So if you want to know more about fishing, definitely check out my latest video. That should help explain what we know so far about it. As for bug catching, it looks like there will be a certain ring that will kind of alert the bug if you enter that area, which may vary dependent on the bug. And then once the bug notices that you're there, it looks like there will be a certain amount of time that you could still catch it before it will run away. In terms of fishing and bug catching, the fish and the bugs will be like seasonal. So some will only be available at certain times of the year, certain times of the day, and for the fish at least, different areas of the map. So like the ocean versus the lake versus the river and so on. Question number 25, Alejandro asked, can we delay or speed up the time in the game? So according to the community manager on Discord, the regular time for a day is about 20 minutes long. However, you can slow the time down to about 40 minutes. So I think the 40-minute mark sounds really good for me personally, and I'm definitely excited we can delay or speed up the in-game time. I imagine we'd also be able to like really speed up and progress to the next day if we just go to sleep. So that's another option. Komorebi wants to know more about decorating. So can we decorate any aspects of the town or the beach? Will there be a lot of decorative items, different series? What about crafting? So I don't think you'll be able to place any decor outside of your farm for at least early access, maybe for the full release. But this might also have to be achieved through mods. There will be lots of decorative items, themed collections, and series. We've already seen quite a wide variety, and the developer diaries have noted a ton of work on a ton of different decor items with different themes. So yes, there'll definitely be plenty to decorate with. I'm sure a lot of this too will come later down the line. I feel like anything cosmetic, they'll start with a good amount, but then they will just continue to add as the game expands. And yes, there will also be craftable items like fences, pathing, arches, stuff like that. Cyberfrogs wants to know if there will be a tool that we can use to plan the layout of our farm before we begin our playthrough. So nothing has been created yet, but I would absolutely love it if someone in the oh so talented Coral Island community created a farm planning tool. I remember that was so handy to have for Animal Crossing New Horizons, and it was a fun way to get hyped for the game while also brainstorming and planning ideas for your layout. This would also be amazing to have for those who can't play early access to get hyped for the game and pass the time. Anna wants to know if Stairway Games will release a book that has all or some of the official or concept art for the Islanders. So actually a digital art book was one of the Kickstarter rewards. So that does exist. I do wonder if they might create a second edition or volume for everyone to access, or maybe make it available again for a limited time. It would be nice if more people could access this item, but I also understand the exclusivity of Kickstarter rewards and how that wouldn't necessarily be fair to backers. So it's tough to say how they could approach this, but regardless, the art is amazing for this game, so I really hope they're able to come up with something to offer everyone. Rhino Hammer wants to know how many forms of non-standard farming there will be. So for example, crab pots, fish ponds, vertical farming, aquaponics, and hybrids. They also mentioned trellis gardening for decoration, which I think would be so pretty. We haven't heard anything actually about non-standard farming yet, but we will have access to a greenhouse and perhaps some indoor gardening if we get like pots or planters. Putting a spin on these items and implementing hydroponics will be very unique and very cool. This game does have a lot of green walls and roofs in the architectural design, so having some vertical farming options would definitely fit with their vision, but I don't think they're gonna make anything farming related too complex, but you can upgrade the quality of what you produce with kelp that you collect when you dive, and then also with fertilizers, and maybe even some magic could become involved with the Coral 3. Of course, there's also always mods, so lots of options for farming for sure. Question number 30, we are almost there, oh my gosh. Blair wants to know if there are any yet to be revealed festivals or events that I hope or theorize to be in the game. So far we know of the Cherry Blossom Potluck Festival, the Mooncake Festival, and the Beach Cleanup Festival. It also seems that there will be some sort of Earth Day or tree planting type celebration. I personally think there will also be some sort of winter festival, and I'm hoping it'll have some sort of holiday magic with very festive vibes. We've also seen fireworks in association with festivals in the developer diaries, so these could be like summer fireworks or maybe something for New Year's. And then the only other thing that I could speculate on is that there has to be some sort of festival that features a pet race. I don't know what that could possibly be, but a festival that revolves around animals or wildlife would be amazing to see. CR asks, do you think this game will have any secrets or Easter eggs that we need to find, like in Stardew Valley? I think yes. Knowing the team, I believe they will have little secrets and references that you can find all around the island, and maybe even secret collectibles for the full release. I definitely think this is something that they would like to include. Marine Betta asks, do you think some of the animations will change before the game fully releases? And I think yes. I think everything is constantly changing. I know the team is constantly working on revisiting things, updating and polishing many aspects of the game, and this does include animations. They also really want to build Coral Island with community feedback in mind, hence why they're doing early access in the first place, so this will be a crucial time for everyone to provide their feedback to help the team improve the game based on that feedback. A perfect example of this were the jogging animations, where the team put them out for alpha players and asked for feedback for which ones specifically were their favorites and which ones the players thought they should ship with early access. Brittany asks, will this game be available on the Steam Deck for early release? So from my understanding, the game is not currently optimized for Steam Deck. Apparently it's possible that it will be somewhat playable on the Steam Deck, but likely not 100% reflective of the gameplay quality that it would be on PC. If you're like wondering, oh, should I get a Steam Deck to play this game? Probably not, because it's not like designed for it yet. That's not to say they won't eventually optimize it for the Steam Deck, but it's not like a guarantee, you know? We're almost there, we got 2 questions left. So Jones asks, will there be optimization for Xbox Series X? And of course, I've also seen people in the past ask about PS4 versus PS5, and the team has yet to confirm anything about which generation of console they are developing for, but I feel like it's pretty safe to say they will be developed for like PS4 and Xbox One. They probably don't need like any next gen version for the game because the newer consoles can run the previous gen software, so I don't think it's like necessary that they come out with like a PS5 edition or like an Xbox Series X and S edition, but I also don't know, maybe it's simple enough that they could release both. I don't know how that goes from a development standpoint. And then the final question is a little bit spicy. Indigo asks, will there be any kissing in this game since there is dating? The answer is, I am pretty sure there will be. Yes, I think so. We have actually seen our player share a hug with Alice in the latest trailer, and my guess would be that kissing will initially be locked behind a certain heart level and possibly only available via cutscenes to begin with, but maybe once you actually marry a character, then there will be a way to interact with that character and kiss them whenever you'd like. That'll be interesting, but yeah, I definitely think there's gonna be kissing in this game. I mean, dating is such a huge part of the game, even though it's a farm sim, and kissing is a huge part of dating. So those were all the questions that you guys asked. That was a lot of information. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna pin a comment on this video, and if you have additional questions that you would like me to answer in a follow-up video, please reply to the pinned comment with your question. The only thing I ask is to make sure first that no one else has already asked the question you have. If they have, please just give that comment a like, and then of course you're welcome to ask something else. I'd like to do one more of these videos before early access drops, so ask away. So I hope I answered some of your questions. I hope you learned something new in this video, and as always, I look forward to hearing from you in the comments below. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and until next time, take care. And a very special thanks to Mandy, Meredith, Formotus, Kooky, Samur, and Tansy, my Sunstone members. I love you all, and thank you so much for your support. It really helps to make all of this possible and means the world to me.